Hello everyone, this is ScaleCraft channel and today I'd like to show you my very first video on YouTube. I'm gonna show you a really simple diorama that you can do it yourself if you like it. As a base model I got the Yacht Panther from Russian Zvezda 100 scale. The box is pretty simple, you just can see a few photos, the scale and the size of the model. Let's take a closer look what we can buy for $5. The model is really small, but as you can see all details are pretty awesome. But without improvements in appearance it will be just a big brick on the tracks. So we need to work a little bit on this. I use super thin drills to bore a hole in the barrel, although you can do it with a sharp knife. I also added a code holes in the periscopes and viewing slots. The next step that requires special patience is imitation of the weld. I used the knife to make a microscopic notches around the perimeter of the joints of the armor plates. I did the same job with the tailpipes as with the barrel. The pipe on the left side also required a refinement. Of course, don't forget a machine gun and gun mask as well. Pre-shading is not necessary to do with this scale, but anyway I did it just not to break the traditions. The next step is quite complicated. It is a road wheeling painting. It seems to be not a trivial task at the first glance, but it's important not to hurt the bandages. Therefore I use very liquid acrylic paint and fill it into the wheels. Just let the surface tension forces do all the business for you. I put several layers of paint to achieve the desired result. Also paint idler wheel and drive sprocket. I use airbrush to paint whole surface in base color. Now I use matte varnish to protect the base color before painting. Next I began to apply effects. First I applied black wash. This will give the necessary volume of the model and the highlight of all small details such as hatches, welds and gratings. Now I use more dark or bright shadows of yellow filter to enliven the model. I apply it from the top to the bottom on the vertical surface and along the tank on the horizontal. And let's get started to work on the base of Diorama. I decided to use polystyrene foam because it's really lightweighted and easy to work with. I use usual stationary knife to cut off the round base. Next, I cut out 2 roots that imitate the road. Before that, I check out a few photos of real country roads to understand the logic of how to cut it. Also, if it's necessary, create the terrain. Accuracy is not required here actually. The next step is covering the surface with gypsum mixture. You can use ready-made mixtures, but I use a simple and cheap homeless version of such a compound. For this I mixed up gypsum, PVA glue and a little bit of black paint. I just apply this mixture on the surface using the brush and let it dry for an hour. Creating of the soil in this scale is also a very interesting process. Of course you can use the real soil, ready-made pigments, but I decided to show you another way how to imitate that. For this I use PVA glue and gypsum for viscosity. I also added a little bit of grounded tree bark and plumbing flax to simulate the roots. I tint all the substance with acrylic paints to the desired color. The best way to apply such a primer is using a rough brush. Just do jabbing movements to create the most uneven and natural surface. Also apply multiple layers if it's necessary. After the land is completely dried, I proceed to form the grass cover. I decided to make the grass myself, although again and again you can buy a ready-made one and apply it with a static grass applicator. I form such small tufts of grass that I stick to the surface on the diorama. This method allows you to make really thick grass of any size. I make such grass from plumbing flax. If you are interested about it, write in the comments below and I will tell you more. The better way to join grass and base is PVA glue or super gel. It's transparent and hardens quickly. I put a small amount of gel on the sheath and press it firmly to the surface. Thus we grass the entire surface of the diorama. Afterwards I use scissors to cut grass to the required height. I adhere the logic that the closer to the road, the lower the grass height is. So the grass looks kinda unnatural, so I straighten and comb the grass. I found a dental needle as a very convenient tool to remove the excess and comb the pile. I also add some small blades of the grass along the edges of the road and in the middle of the rut to make it more realistic. So now I place the tank on the surface, and now I need to make an effect as if a tank is squeezing the soil rather than flying somewhere in the air. For this effect I add some material that I used to make the soil and put it along the edges of the tracks. Imitation of liquid or wet dirt is most easily done by applying a matte or glossy varnish to the surface. I add it to those places where liquid mud could logically be. To create the effect of puddles of water, you can use supergel or ready-made special materials. Also, I added soot effects of the exhaust pipes and the trunk. And finally, I ennobled the base of the diorama. To do this, I cut cardboard strip and glue it around the base in paint in a black color. And then it's necessary to cut off all the protruding parts with scissors.